Good evening. Welcome to our Institute of Global Professional Free Webinar. Thank you all for joining and stay with us till the end. My lovely audience, today I am your host for the evening. My name is Badhan Dash. I am from Bangladesh. Dear audience, I am proud to be associated with IGP as a global member. I feel honored and privileged to host this webinar. It's my delight to welcome you all our Institute of Global Professional Free Webinar. Thank you all for joining us in this marvelous evening, and it's my humble request to pleasure to all of you to stay with us till the end. Institute of Global Professionals serve student and community resource, providing holistic social work and education for create a competent generation. IGP is a leading and online skill development institute with thousands of learners worldwide. Institute of Global Professionals is an educational institute providing social work with globally recognized. Organized our webinar training, offline online courses by best and trained speaker coaches from all over the world. Our mission is to empower people. We have already successfully completed 1070 webinars. Dear participant, let's introduce with our speaker. How are you, sir?
Bes hindi mag-ano, ah?
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
No, ma'am, I think I'm unmute now.
Hello, sir.
Kasano ate, bes?
Hello, sir. Can
Ha?
you hear me?
Naririnig ako? Yes, ma'am, I can hear you. Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes, sir. I can hear you now. Welcome, sir. Welcome to our webinar.
Ayun. Thank you, ma'am.
And thank you so much,
I
sir.
can see
Sir,
you now.
please. Okay, sir. Please tell something about yourself, and then you can start your presentation.
Okay, thank you, ma'am, for introducing me. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the person behind this milestone of my life and for allowing me to speak in front of the international platform in Institute of Global Professionals. I would like to thank my school head, Dr. Redentor Tabamo, for giving me this opportunity to speak, as well as to the school's division superintendent of Tarlac Province, Dr. Ronaldo A. Pozon, for allowing me to speak also with this platform. And to all the members and the head of Institute of Global Professionals, good evening. And to the members and viewers now all over the world, good evening, good afternoon, and good morning to everybody. Okay, so let me just share to you my slide. Okay. So this evening, we will be talking about one of the field in technology and livelihood education. So I'll be talking about the installing of four-way electrical wiring connection. This is anchored in the Department of Education Code of Electrical Installation and Maintenance NC2 for the Senior High School Department in the Philippines. So I am your discussant for this evening. I am Mark Joshua A. Galinato. So let us begin with our session with our objectives for tonight. So number one, we have determine the steps in installing four-way electrical wiring connection. Number two, identify the correct wiring connection, materials and procedures of installing one lamp controlled by two three-way and four-way switches, or what we called four-way. And number three, appreciate the importance of correct wiring connection of one lamp controlled by two three-way switch and four-way switches. So what is four-way electrical wiring connection? Basically, in installing houses, we have different types of wiring connection. We have one gang, two gang, three gang, three-way, and four-way electrical wiring connection. And this is one of the rigid type of electrical wiring connection that is usually used in building constructions as well as in the market. We can also use this in our home as well as in the different construction sites or buildings, commercial buildings. Now, a four-way switch configurations are used to control lights with three or more switches. A three-way switch is used on each end with one or more four-way switches in between the two three-way switches. They do not have an on or off position like single pole switches. Unlike three-way switches, in four-way switch, we have four terminals. It means that we cannot use this as neutral or hot wire. Okay, we cannot directly put the four-way switch in those connections or wiring. They serves us only as travelers for the three-way and a two three-way switch that is being installed in a circuit. Four-way switches have four terminals, each with two pairs of travelers. One pair usually black and the other pair brass color. A three-switch configuration will have two three-way switches, one on each end and one four-way switches in the middle. As you can see in the flow of current in the given video below, we can see different types of switch, wherein four-way switch is located in between the two three-way switches with two common terminals to light the bulb. Four-way switches is also used in the hallways, in the stairways, in the kitchen, or any part of the building that the client wants it to install. This is three-way versus four-way. As you can see in the picture presented, in three-way switch, the three-way switch have three terminals only, and it is numbered by 0, 1, and 3, wherein 0 is the common terminal, and 1 and 3 are the travelers. But in four-way switch, we have four terminals, which is numbered 1, 3, 2, and 4. And in the upper right portion, that is in odd numbers, and in the lower part is an even number. In three-way versus four-way, their similarities are they serve as traveler. They cannot be served as poles or as a single pole switch because there is no on or off in their part. So they serve only as common terminals or travelers. This is now the actual connection diagram of the three-way and four-way. So let us analyze and compare the differences of the actual connection diagram. In three-way, we have here the CB, or wherein this is the symbol for circuit breaker. We also have the L, which is serve as our lamp. We also have the two switches, wherein it is recognized as S3W, or that is the symbol for three-way. So this is now the actual connection diagram of one lamp controlled by two three-way switches in different locations. In three-way, we have only two locations to be controlled by the switches, three-way switches, and one lamp only. And we have two travelers connected with each other, wherein one, terminal 1 to terminal 1 of S3W, and 3, terminal 3 of another S3W. We also have the neutral wire connected from the circuit breaker to the lamp, and then from the lamp to the zero common terminal of the S3W. In the second line, we have the circuit breaker directly connected to the S3W common terminal 0. While in four-way electrical wiring connection, this is longer than the connection of three-way, wherein we will be using two three-way switches and only one four-way switch in between the three-way switches. So the same scenario, but in four-way, we have to connect the circuit breaker line 1 to the lamp, and from the lamp, we have to connect the common terminal to the 0 of the last S3W, and the hot wire is directly connected from the circuit breaker to the 0 common terminal of the first three-way switch. Now, we will be going to connect the travelers of the S3W switch to the S4W switch, wherein the legend would be 1 connected to port number 1 or terminal 1 of the S4W, and then the second terminal 3 of the first S3W is directly connected to the terminal 3 of S4W, so that we can now uh, s- we can now directly put or install the switches from the first S3W switch and the S4W switch. Now, from the even numbers of the S4W switch, the legend would be the two common terminal or the traveler should be directly connected to the last one S3W traveler, and four connected to the three last switch for the S3W. So this will be the actual connection of four-way and three-way. So we see in the comparison of the different circuits, we are now be dealing with three-way and four-way. In three-way, we can only use two switches and one bulb to be lighted up. And then in four-way, we can use three or more light bulbs to light the one bulb. But basically, in four-way switches, we can use a lot of four-way switches to light up the bulb inside our homes if we will be going to have or we wish to install four-way switch in our house. And this is one of the most expensive type of electrical wiring connection in the industry, because you will be using four-way, which is one of the most expensive switch to be bought. And if you're going to install it in 6 locations, for example, you can just add four-way switch, but the two three-way switch should retain, because it will not light it up if the two three-way switch will be removed. Now, we're going to find out what are the safety procedures to follow during wiring installation of four-way switch. In wiring, when installing any type of wiring system, there is always risk involved. This risk, of course, include harming yourself, someone else, or loss of property if the wires are not properly installed or necessarily precautions are not taken. And there are a few proactive measures you should take when you are working with or installing wires. Keeping the following tips in the forefront of your mind would help you to make sure you do not cause any harm to your property and keep safe. And it will make keep you safe at the same time. Number one, Number one safety procedure to consider is make sure that the power is off. Check the breaker of power source and make sure the power is always off before starting any electrical work. Lock the door or lock the breaker if possible, or if you cannot, make sure everyone in the area knows it is turned off for a reason and leave an easily noticeable note that you are working on the electricity. It's logical but critical for a safe work environment. Number two, wear safety glasses and protective clothing. Covering your eyes is a must when dealing with electricity. You do not want sparks or other debris to get in your eyes. Also, wearing long shirts, pants, gloves, and thick-soled shoes are also good idea. If the environment is outdoor or large scale, working on a project like laying pipeline with trees or wire, a hard hat may also be needed along with with other construction environment safety gear. You can see in the picture given, we have the complete personal protective equipment whereby the man or the model in the picture. He has the head protection, which is the helmet. He has also the eye protection, the hearing protection for any sound or loud tools in machinery or poorly maintained equipment. We also have the high visibility hat, vest, pants, errant vehicles for distracted drivers. We also have the chop pants and the hand protection, sharp or this is used for the sharp or hot objects or chemicals or biological and electrical hazard. And one of the most important protective equipment is the gloves. We also have the foot protection, or we call that boots, safety boots. It is used for against falling or rolling objects, sharp or heavy objects, and the slippery surfaces, hot surfaces, and electrical hazards. We also need to consider harness or lanyard for working for more than 6 feet or more above a lower level of the ground. And the safety precaution number three, you should always test first. Use a voltage tester in to test the wires and connections before you begin working on them to make sure they are indeed dead. This will allow you to accurately judge the work that needs to be done and select the product and tools you need to use. Next, number four, safety precautions. You should have the right tools on hand. As with any job, you need the correct tools to complete it properly and do it with safety in mind. Having the right tools for a wire installation is detrimental. Some tools include a voltage tester, a wire cutters, wire and cable strippers, needle nose pliers, continuity tester, and others. For large scale jobs such as installing ground cables, you may need a wire trencher or other digging equipment or heavy machinery. So in this installation, here are the basic tools that we need to consider: the hammer, the electric knife, the mallet, the multi-tester, the wire strippers, and the long nose pliers. These are just the basic tools and equipment that we need to consider in installing any type of electrical wiring. Number five, safety precaution and procedure. You should check your work. Before you close up the hole or call the job done, check your work. The last thing you want is there to be a loose connection and the whole project to go up in flames. Literally, electrical fires are known to spark at any time and cause considerable damage and tragedy. Pull on the connections to make sure that they are secure, and turn on the electricity and make sure everything works correctly and start up without incident. Also, check the casings with a voltage tester to make sure that they are not electrified. Use the right insulators for longer lifespans too. So here are those are the five safety precautions to consider in wiring installation and during the installing of the four-way electrical wiring connection. Now, let us proceed to the materials to be used in installing four-way electrical wiring connections. Here are the basic materials to be used in installing four-way electrical wiring connections. Number one is junction box. A junction box is usually used to hold the lamp and the receptacle in place. It is usually installed in the ceiling and it has four holes. this will be where the splicing um, of the wires from the circuit breakers to the fixture that you will be installing. Next, we also have the utility box. The difference between junction box and utility box is that utility box have 6 compartments or holes in each place, and it is rectangular. Junction box is octagonal in nature, and utility box is only used to the outlets and as well as to the switches for you to uh, splice the terminals of the switches that you will be installing. This is installed in the wall, not in the ceiling. Next, electrical wire or American wire gauge. This is usually chosen by the engineers or electricians that will be installing the house. In the Philippine Electrical Code, the standard number of American wire gauge to be installed in the lighting is number 14 American wire gauge, while in the outlets, the standard Philippine Electrical Code standard wire gauge number is number 12. But basically, it will depend on the client or the owner of the property to be installed if what number or what American wire gauge to be used for standard and for long-lasting purposes. So in electrical wiring, this is a must because this is where an electrician or the electrical wire or the circuit be used. Next, we also have the polyvinyl chloride or that is PVC. Polyvinyl chloride is also called conduit, and this is where the electrical wires be inserted for you to install the electrical wiring. Hence, in the other hand, we also use corrugated plastic conduit or we use sometimes metallic conduit depending on the building or the house that we will be installing. For rigid houses or for the recent houses, they only use they are using now polyvinyl chloride, but old houses they used CPC or corrugated plastic conduit. In buildings like 50 floors, they do not use polyvinyl chloride, but they use the EMT or the electrical metallic tubing. And this varies in types as well as in sizes and bends. As you can see in the picture, we also have the cut polyvinyl chloride and the elbow cut or bend in polyvinyl chloride, depending on the um, nature of the job. We also have here the lamp holder, wherein this is attached to the bulb to light up, and it is being attached also to the junction box. And it also varies in sizes, in types, in color, and with the use, depending on the type of bulb that you will be using. We also have here the polyvinyl chloride C-clamp. It is being used to attach in the conduits in the wiring installation so that it can be tightened very well in the ceiling or in the wall. We also have here the circuit breaker. Circuit breaker varies also in amperages depending on the number of loads that you will be installing in the house. But normally, circuit breaker should always be considered in building a house because it should not be installed with all the connections in in electrical wiring connection for lighting and for the outlets. It should be separated with each other. And the main breaker should be at least higher than the total number of the computed amperages of all the loads in the house to make sure that the overloading and malfunction of the breaker or the circuit is considered. Now, we also have the four-way switch. As you can see in the picture, we have four terminals. We have terminal 1, 3, 2, and 4. This is one way to consider or look into and take into mind, because when you are buying some of the switch, we are looking for the numbers or the signals or the numbers of the switch behind the face. And in four-way switch, this is very easy to know because there is number, and it is in 1, 2, 3, and 4. We also have here the three-way switch. Three-way switch have only three numbers. The terminals, which is 0, the common terminal, and the traveler are 1 and 3. So we need to look into our mind and keep in our mind that three-way switch has only um, three ports. And we also have here the incandescent bulb. Incandescent bulb varies into different wattage and voltage. In EIM, or in electrical installation and maintenance, we use incandescent bulb to make sure that the learner or um, the wherein the circuit is good if it deflects in the multi-tester. It is usually used in testing the circuit in for the learners, for them to learn the different types of deflectors in the multi-tester. Now, we have here the procedures in installing four-way electrical wiring connection. Number one is to analyze the pictorial and actual connection wiring diagram. And for electricians and engineers, they use different types of wiring connection. We have the schematic diagram, wherein you will be using the different symbols and signs being used in the electrical plan. We also have the line diagram, which is being used to know only um, the lines or the way that the electrical connection should be used. And it makes use of dash. The dash symbolizes the number of conduit inserted in a number of wires inserted in a conduit. And for the actual pictorial diagram, we use the picture itself of the connection. And for the actual connection diagram, we use the actual number of wires, and we can see the number of wires that will be drawn into the circuit. Here is the pictorial diagram of the four-way electrical wiring connection. The pictorial diagram of this connection is the physical appearance itself, which you can see the different types of conduit. We use polyvinyl chloride, the SiC lamp, the circuit breakers, the electrical wire or the American wire gauge, the receptacle, or we call that lamp holder, the light bulb. We can also see the octagonal box, and also the switches. We have here the four-way, the two three-way, and in between we have the four-way switch. It is being spliced and uh, wrapped with the electrical tape or wire cap. And also we can see the panel board and the circuit breaker, as well as the lock nuts and the connector. So this is the exact example of pictorial diagram in four-way electrical wiring connection, wherein you can see the visual, spatial, and the physical appearance itself of the connection. Now, for the actual connection diagram of four-way, we have the lines that is connected with each other. It is the actual number of lines the hot wire and the neutral wire connected to the circuit breaker, to the lamp, and to the switches. So four-way electrical wiring connections, we have a lot of wires to be used. Unlike three-way, we only use certain number of wires, but in four-way, we use a lot because there are three travelers switch that can be connected with each other. And we can also see the symbols in the electrical wiring connection for the actual wiring diagram. So CB stands for the circuit breaker. The circle there is the lamp. The two octagonal shape there is the junction box. And the square type figure there represent the switches and the utility box. The line symbolizes the number of wires that can be connected in the circuit. So we can see that in physical or the pictorial diagram, it is different from actual connection diagram. And if you'll be installing this type of connection, you should draw first the wiring connection for you to come up with a positive result. Number two, outline dimensions. Always know the actual number of lines that you will be using in a particular circuit. In four-way electrical wiring connections, if you do not know how to connect the wires, you will not be able to light up the bulb, or the job will fail if you don't know the principle and concept behind the electrical wiring connection. Number three, mount the circuit breaker, utility, and junction boxes to their proper position using two screws per box. So here is the sample of roughing in of the four-way electrical wiring connection. So in two, we only have the drawing or the diagram that will be using in the job, wherein you will be knowing where you will put the switches, the junction box, as well as the circuit breaker. In number three, we have there now the roughing in or the exact same location wherein the utility box, the junction box, and circuit breakers are being located. So we can see that there are three junction box to be used, one circuit breaker, three utility boxes, and ample of wires to be used. And this is an example of a line diagram without dash. And now, number four, procedure or step, we have measure and cut the required length of the non-metallic conduit. In any job order or um, in any job that you will be considering, should know how to measure the rigid non-metallic conduit to be used in the wiring and installing the switches, wherein you will be needing a lot of computations, meter, and know also the different type of bends, because in the actual field you will be dealing with a lot of bends or impositions to the job. And the job required you to have a rigid experience for you to bend a simple type of metallic or non-metallic conduit. So this time, we'll be using the PVC or the non-metallic conduit or rigid non-metallic conduit. It varies in sizes, wherein we'll be using 1/2 inch of the non-metallic conduit, and it should always be in orange color because it is used in electrical installation. For water, we use color blue, and for metal, we use the silver. And step 5, or the procedure number 5, prepare the required length of the conductor. It may be if the length of the tubing plus an ample allowance at both ends for the splicing. And for the splicing, you should always note that the allowance must be at least 150 millimeters, or that is in 6-inch long at both ends, and measured from the ends of the tubing. So it should look like this. Okay. So the tubings have three wires inserted, and allowable inch to be remain or cut will be 6 inches. And for the conductors, at both ends, you should also have 6 inches. This will allow you to splice in the different types of boxes in the ceiling or in the wall that you should be installing the fixtures. And make sure that you will be having markings or tagging in the different type of wires if you will be using only one type color type of wire. For example, all black colors in neutral, hot, and ground wire, you should always use, or you should know how to mark each other. So one for the ground, two for the neutral, and three for the hot wire. So you can use the electrical tape, or you can use also colored tapes to mark what is being used for the hot, neutral, and ground wire. Step 6 is that insert the wires first after laying out the tubing permanently. In the different types of buildings or houses, they are installing first the conduits before the job will be done, or the installing of wires should be done. It is different if it varies also in the type of conduit that you will be using. If you'll be using CPC, you should insert first the wire before laying the tubing permanently, because CPC has edges, rather than in PVC, it is only flat and should look like this. Okay, so this is now the final output for the inserting of the different wires that you will be installing. Number 7, attach the rigid non-metallic tubing with conductors permanently using flexible clamps. So flexible clamps are used in fastening the conduit in the wall or in the ceiling. So this is usually done after the installation of the different conduits that you will be uh, doing. Number 8 is that insert the connectors, put the lock nuts, and tighten it. As you can see in the picture, the connectors are being attached with the conduit or with the PVC or polyvinyl chloride in the junction box, in the utility box, as well as in the circuit panel board. It is used to connect and make the tightens of the circuit being installed. And number 9, prepare the conductor for termination. Strip off at least 5 millimeters of insulation for terminals and at least 2 inches of insulation for wire splicing. Here is the example. For wire splicing, take note that wire splicing should be done in junction boxes, not in utility boxes. So it is being considered 2 inches for wire splicing, either for red, black, or white colored wires. And it should be done in the junction box. While for terminals, or the terminating of the wires through the fixtures of switches, you should at least strip at least 5 millimeters of the wire for you to insert in the different terminals of the switch. So that is how step 9 should be done for wire splicing and for the terminals. Make all necessary connection as required in the wiring diagram. The figure below shows the current flow of one lamp controlled by two three-way switches and a four-way switch. Step number 10. Now, in our discussion a while ago, we looked into the numbers of the three-way switch and four-way switch. So I hope that you can easily know now the differences and comparison, differences and similarities of the different type of switch. We should always use the circuit breaker. In the old time, they use of fuse in houses, but in current time or newly built houses or buildings, they always use now circuit breakers. We also have the lamp holders and the different types of wires to be used. This is in colored in nature. So we have white that will serve as the neutral wire. The black wire serve as the hot wire or hot wire. This is used from the circuit breaker to the switches, while neutral wire are used from the circuit breaker to the bulbs. And also travelers. This is in color coded for red. So this is now the proper way of noticing the different types of fixtures and wires to be installed in the wiring diagram. In this picture, we can now see the proper installation of four-way electrical wiring connection. This is the output, and it is finally done because the circuit breaker is directly attached to the lamp, the neutral, which is the white one, directly attached to the lamp, and the black is directly attached to the from the circuit breaker to the first three-way switch, and from the lamp, color coded black wire directly attached to the zero terminal, common terminal of the second three-way switch at the right corner. And we have four travelers attached with the four-way switch and two three-way switch that is color coded in red, and that is being wrapped and spliced with the electrical tape or the wire cap. So this should be the look of a four-way electrical wiring connection. So later on, we'll be knowing how to install or know how to install this one in a video. So step 11, procedure 11, be sure that the connections are tightened correctly. It is important to know that the connections of the fixtures is being attached tightly for us to not troubleshoot it for a short time. And for you to have a good maintenance in the different fixtures, lights, or the light bulbs or the wires that should be maintained, you should know that the connection should be tightened correctly and know the different types of fixtures that you will be installing. Number 12, step, test the circuit for ground, short, or open wiring. If a fault is found, rectify it. So it is in nature of the different types of wiring that sometimes we will be having a short-circuited wiring connection or ground or short or open wiring because the splicing and the connection and how the wires are being attached are separately or not properly attached to the electrical tape or not properly wrapped. So that is one of the reason wherein ground or short circuit is being happened. And if there is a problem in a particular circuit or wiring connection, you should solve the problem for the first time, because if it will be deal with a lot of or long time, okay, it will deal a lot of maintenance in the wiring. So here's the final output for the four-way electrical wiring connection. Step 13, screw the fixtures to their utility boxes or junction boxes. So the figure in the next picture shows how to fix the fixture about after terminations and testing the circuit. So here is how to terminate the switch and how to finalize it by um, installing the faceplate of the switch. As you can see, in four-way and three-way switch, there is no on or off, or there is no sign for on symbol, and should be attached with the screws, and also as well as in the receptacles or lamp holders, it should be attached properly to avoid malfunctioning. Step 14, turn on the circuit and test run the unit. In testing the circuit, you should always use multi-testers and any type of testing equipment for us to know how the circuit is being used or if it is functioning well. So for the circuit breaker, for the on symbol, it should be in upward direction, and for an off breaker, it should be in a down position. So it should look like this, okay, off or going on. And lastly, perform housekeeping. Performing housekeeping should be done daily or monthly basis for you to know what is being damaged in your wiring installation or in the industry. Engineers and electricians usually done this to maintain the different types of faults in the house, as well as also if calamities happened, also a natural phenomenon happens, you should always check the fault in your electrical wiring connection. So now we'll be going to watch the um, theory and the concept of four-way electrical wiring connection and how it is being installed properly, or how the current flows in the different circuit or in different types of switch that we will be using. So let us now watch the basic types of wiring connection in four-way electrical wiring connection.
The first circuit we will look at is the simplest method and the easiest to understand. It's typically used for a new installation. We have our two 3-terminal switches at either end, and then an intermediate switch in the middle. We take our live and feed it into the common of switch 1. We then run a brown cable from L1 of switch 1 over to L4 of switch 2. We then run a brown cable from L2 of switch 2 over to L2 of switch 3. We then run a blue wire from L2 of switch 1 over to L3 of switch 2. We'll also place a brown sleeve at each end of the wire to warn that it is intermittently live. We run another blue wire from L1 of switch 2 over to L1 of switch 3. And then we run a final blue wire from the common of switch 3 up to the light. Now, when we turn the power on, the electricity can flow through switch 1 and 2 and into switch 3. But the circuit is broken, so the light will stay off. If we then flip switch 3, we complete the circuit and the light turns on. If we flip switch 2, we cross the paths and break the circuit. If we flip switch 1, we make the circuit again. If we flip switch 1 again, then we break the circuit. If we flip switch 3, then we complete the circuit. And if we flip switch 2, then we break the circuit. This is the second method, which is typical for converting an existing circuit. In this version, we run live to L1 of switch 1, and then from L1 of switch 1 to L1 of switch 2, then from L3 of switch 2 to L1 of switch 3. We then run a grey wire from L2 of switch 3 to L4 of switch 2. We'll place a brown sleeve on the wires to indicate that this is intermittently live. We then run another grey wire from L2 of switch 2 to L2 of switch 1. We then join the two end switches with a black wire to each common. We'll then connect the blue wire from L2 of switch 1 to the light circuit. When we turn the power on, the electricity passes through switch 1 and 2 and stops at switch 3 because the circuit is broken. If we flip switch 3, we make the circuit and the lamp turns on. If we flip switch 2, then we break the circuit and the lamp is off. If we flip switch 3, we make the circuit again. And if we flip switch 1, then we break the circuit so it can't reach the lamp. We flip switch 2 to make the circuit, and we break the circuit by flipping switch 1. This method is a variation of the last one, where we use the same cables but change their route a little. We have the live into L1 of switch 1, then a brown wire from L1 of switch 1 to L3 of switch 2, then another brown wire from L1 of switch 2 to L1 of switch 3. Then we have the grey wire from L2 of switch 1 to L4 of switch 2, then another from L2 of switch 2 to L2 of switch 3. We then have a black wire between the two commons, and finally the blue wire back to the lamp circuit. When we power this circuit, the electricity flows through switch 1 and 2 but stops at switch 3. If we flip switch 3, we make the circuit and the light turns on. If we flip switch 2, we break the circuit. If we flip switch 1, we make the circuit. If we flip switch 2, we break the circuit again. If we flip switch 3, we make the circuit. And if we flip switch 1, we break the circuit. In this design, we're bringing the power and the lamp control to the rightmost switch. We run a brown wire from L1 of switch 3 to L1 of switch 2, then another brown wire from L3 of switch 2 over to L2 of switch 1. We then run a grey wire from the common of switch 1 over to the common of switch 3. We then run a black wire from L2 of switch 3 to L2 of switch 2. We then have another black wire from L4 of switch 2 over to L1 of switch 1, and we finally have the blue wire from L2 back to the lamp. When we power this circuit, the circuit is complete, so electricity flows through switch 3, 2, and 1, and back to 3, where it will then feed the light. If we then flip switch 3, we break the circuit. If we flip switch 2, we make the circuit again. If we flip switch 1, we break the circuit. If we flip switch 3, we again make the circuit. If we flip switch 2, we break the circuit. And if we flip switch 1, we make the circuit. This method is the simplest way to connect 4, 5, 6 or more switches into a light circuit. It's based off the design in the very first method we saw earlier in this video. This is typically used for completely new installations. The power comes in from one end and the lamp is connected to the other end. This way allows any switch to make or break the circuit. With this method, we can add 4, 5, 6 or more switches to an existing installation. This design is based on the third method we saw earlier in this video. For this design, we just extend the black wire from the two common terminals of the end switches, and then we run the grey and brown wires between the switches. This allows us to extend it as much as we
Okay, so I think the video is now finished. And as you can see in the video, I have presented different types of methods for wiring installation of four-way switches. So it's up to you if what type of electrical wiring connection you should use in building or installing your lamp in the house. And the easy step is being able to demonstrate very well, and you should always know the types of switch that you will be using, because if three-way and four-way is unavailable, you cannot create a four-way switch. So you should always use two three ways, and as much as possible you can only use one, or if possible, and if you want to use different types in different locations, if you want to put the switch in different locations for you to control the bulb, you can also use a lot of four-way, but basically the three-way should not be absent. And also for the different types of circuit, the parallel, we could also use a lot of bulb that will be connected in the circuit, not only one. So here, I will show you the my learners masterpieces in our school, and here are the examples of the three-way switch, or the types of circuits that they have already installed and maintained in our school. Okay. So that is how my students learn for the actual experiences. I believe that progressivism is always in place in teaching, and the best experience is for them to immerse in the different types of connections. We also have here, we are doing the actual connection to light up the building for the second floor, and also in the different types of rooms that we are um, having in to considerations with faulty fixtures, considering the safety of our students by using different types of personal protective equipment. And also, this is the how the examples or the demonstration should be done in taking into consideration the actual performances and demonstration of my students. So that's all for this session. I hope that you learn from my discussion, and I hope that I give you the uh, expertise and the knowledge and wisdom in the four-way electrical wiring connection. And to end this discussion, I would like to end this with a phrase that let there be light, because in our world now that we are in the end of the pandemic, at the end of everything, um, at the end of everything, we should know how to light the life of others, our students, the learners, our colleagues also, and to the different people that we are dealing with. So thank you for listening, everyone across the world, and I'll see you here in the Philippines soon. And thank you for listening. And also, I would like to extend again my greatest um, thanks for the members and head of Institute of Global Professionals, to my school head, to my supervisor, to my colleagues, and to my learners who are there watching me and supporting and guiding me through the way with this milestone of my life. Thank you very much, and good evening.
Christian Nagara. Thank you so much, sir, for your presentation. Now it's time for our quiz session. After quiz session, we will continue our question answer session. So you have to wait for a few minutes. Okay, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Dear participant, to join our quiz session, you have to go www.slido.com and the code is IGP3. After short video, we will start our quiz competition. So let's enjoy our quiz competition. Stop करो. Dear participant, to join our quiz session, you have to go www.slido.com and the code is IGP. We will start our quiz competition after 3 minutes. Okay, 28 people join with us for quiz session. Please don't forget to mention your friend to join our quiz session. Dear participant, to join our quiz session, you have to go www.slido.com and the code is IGP3. We will pick your name from Slido, so join with your full name, which will be directly printed on certificate. Top 10 will be awarded with quiz competition certificate. Okay, 32 people with just join with us. So please mention your friend. To join our quiz session, you have to go www.slido.com and the code is IGP3. We will pick your name from Slido, so join with your full name, which will be directly printed on certificate. Top 10 will be awarded with quiz competition certificate. We will start our quiz competition after 1 minute. Okay, let's start our quiz competition. Okay, our first question is unit of electrical power. Option 1 volts, option 2 amps. Unit of electrical power. Option 1 volts, option 2 amperes. Okay, the right answer is option 1 volts. In the leaderboard, Augie is holding the first position. Our second question is the NEC requires at least dash of free conductor is electricity device boxes for connection to switch and reflects. Option 1 6-inch, option 2 8-inch. Option 1 6-inch is the right answer and 81% people are right here. In the leaderboard, we can see that Augie is holding the first position. Then move to our next question. The third question is, a poor earth connection will make the lamp. Option 1 dimmer, option 2 hotter. A poor earth connection will make the lamp. Option 1 dimmer, option 2 hotter. The right answer is option 1, Dima, and 71% people are right here. In the leaderboard, we can see that Kidwana is holding the first position. Our fourth question is Section 40 deals with electrical communication system. Option 1 false, option 2 true. Option 1 false is the right answer and 23% people are right here. Okay, we can see the leaderboard. Janelian is holding the first position. Our fifth question is NFPA governs National Internet Electrical Code. Option 1 70, option 2 780. Option 1 70, option 2 780. Okay, option 170 is the right answer and 65% people are right here. In the leaderboard, we can see that Jillian is holding the first position. Our sixth question is against which of the following does a fuse project an electrical circuit? Option 1 open circuit failure, option 2 short circuit failure. Option 2 short circuit failure is the right answer. 39% people are right here. In the leaderboard, we can see that Jillian is holding the first position. Our seventh question is ANSI oblique TIA dash equal to telecom building wiring stands. Option 1 568, option 2 569. ANSI oblique TIA dash equal to telecom building wiring standards. Option 1 568, option 2 569. Option 2 569 is the right answer and 44% people are right here. In the leaderboard, we can see that drill is holding the first position after completing our seventh question. Okay, our eighth question is after installing an alarm system, a technician should adjust which one of the following? Option 1 siren volume level control, option 2 ultrasonic sensor sensitivity. Option 2 ultrasonic sensor sensitivity is the right answer and 41% people are right here. In the leaderboard, we can see that Liu is holding the first position after completing our eighth question. Now we are going for our ninth question. The question is which one of the following is true for wiring harness connection? Option 1 will not be located in the wiring diagram. Option 2 make good test point. Option 1 will not be located in the wiring diagrams. Option 2 make good test points. And the right answer is option 2 make good test point and 61% people are right here. Okay. We can see that in the leaderboard, Leah is holding the first position. Our last question of this quiz session. What type of current does a motorcycle electrical components primary use? Option 1 AC, option 2 DC. What type of current does a motorcycle electrical component primarily use? Option 1 AC, option 2 DC. Okay, option 2 DC is the right answer and 58% people are right here. Okay, After finishing our quiz competition, we can see that in the leaderboard, Hamid is holding the first position. Congratulations, our top 10 participants. We have all of your name, which you entered during joining. We will pick your name and prepare certificate and will post them into our official page and group. Our official page name is International of Global Institute. Dear participant, now we go for our question answer session. After a short video, we will start our question answer session. Let's enjoy our question answer session. পার্টিসিপেটের রিকোয়েস্টটা দিতে এখন দিয়ে দিব নাকি আর শুরু করে দিতে আচ্ছা যখন বিষয় ভিডিও দিবেন তখনই করতে পারি আচ্ছা এবং ওরা ভিডিও চলাকালীন কোশ্চেনগুলো ট্রাই করে আজকেও লাগবে হলো ও ইয়া পাইছে Once again, welcome everyone, dear participant. If you have any question, please ask in our comment box. Our speaker sir is here to answer you. Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Can you hear me? I cannot hear you.
I was muted. Thank you very
Okay,
much
okay.
to recognizing me, Ma'am Badan. I can
Okay, sir.
now
Let's start our
recognize
question answer
questions.
session. We are requesting our participant to ask your question in the comment box. Our speaker sir is here to answer them. Okay, sir. Our first question is from Jordan. Good day, sir. Which wire goes iron on a four-way switch?
In a four-way switch, we always have the travelers. Only travelers goes with the four-way switch. Not in the neutral and not in the uh, hot wire. It should always be the traveler wire. Any color can be, but if you have different types of color coding, you can.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your answer. Dear participant, we are requested to ask your question in the comment box. Our speaker sir is here to answer them. We are waiting for your question. Dear participant, we are requested you to ask your question in our comment box. Our speaker sir is here to answer them. So you have any question? So please ask in our question box.
Thank you as well, Sir Jordan Joey Gunatina, for that question. I hope I have helped with your questions. Okay. The second question, ma'am, is where do we usually use the four-way switch connection? Because in a typical house, we only use one-way or two-way. Thank you. In a typical house, we can always use a three-way electrical wiring connection. But basically, if you will be dealing with a lot of switches in different locations and with one bulb only, you can use that in your stairways, in hallways, and as well as in the different parts of your houses, because if you want to switch off uh, the bulb in a different way or in the different location, you can easily access the location. Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you, sir. Thank you for your answer. We are moving to our next question. Our next question is from Hamid. Is there any system, though which operating only AC?
Is there any system motorcycle in quiz through which operating only in alternating current? Alternating current is always used in delivering a lot of current in or voltage in the circuit, but in motorcycles they use yes, DC, direct current. And in Tesla companies, they also using AC now in the different type of motors. But majority of the motorcycles they're using DC. And AC is always used for the distribution of powers in the Philippines and as well as in the other countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your answer. Sir, I think there is no more question. So, on behalf of IGP, thank you so much, sir. It has very wonderful session. I hope everyone learned from your presentation.
It is my honor to be one of your speakers for tonight, and I hope everybody have enjoyed and learned from my discussion. Thank you very much, Ma'am Hamid Razal.
Thank you so much, sir. Now it's time to give you our webinar code. Okay, dear participant, today webinar topic is installing four-way electrical wiring connection and the code is IGP1790. I again repeat, today our topic is installing four-way electrical wiring connection and our code is IGP1790. Without code, no one is eligible for certificates. With code, you can claim your certificates anytime. Thank you so much, everyone, for your active participation. I hope everyone learned from our webinar. See you again in our next session. Till that, stay happy. Once again, I am Badhan Das from Bangladesh.